know, God, just each one of us is here because you called us to be here. And you have a word for each of us to hear, Lord, to sink deep into our hearts, a message, God, that is life-transforming, that will set us on the path that you have for us, God. I pray, Lord, that every heart would be open, and that you would just give courage to each person to be open and in whatever way that needs to happen today, for your word to sink deep into our hearts. I thank you for Regina, Lord, and thank you for her transparency, for her authenticity, and God, that she is just willing to be an open book to pour into the lives of these girls today.
Amen.
Lord, I just pray that you would have your way in this room, and we just invite you now to take over our hearts, our minds, and our day. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Woo. That's a gift. I don't have the open prayer gift. I don't. Do you ever pray with Natasha Maceo? Oh, that just reminded me, that's the compliment of the highest order. Natasha has a gift that is, we were in an open prayer session at church. We had like a prayer meeting. And so, everybody's heads down and praying. And it was the first time I had heard this woman pray. And I was like this, who is that? Like I couldn't even focus. It was just so powerful and amazing. And some people just have this incredible like gift with that. And that was beautiful. So thank you very much. So hello, I am Regina. I met all of you yesterday. Right? Everybody was here yesterday.
Not me.
Oh, you were not?
No, I wasn't.
Hi.
And Emily wasn't either.
Hello, Donna. I am Regina.
Emily wasn't
Oh,
either.
yeah, that's right. Emily was
Oh, hello. So I am a writer. I am a blogger primarily. I did write a book, and it's called Food, Sweat, and Fears. And that is actually the answer to the question of how do you lose over 200 pounds. My entire life, I have been super morbidly obese, and it was challenging to live in that manner. Not because of anything other than the way I felt about myself. That was always a struggle for me. I always wanted to like myself, like I just moderately like myself. Like love yourself, whew, that was like a tall mountain I was never gonna climb. Liking myself would have been a pretty decent start. And it's hard, I found it hard too, because I always kept comparing to what I should look like or could look like, or how every single one of my brothers and sisters looked like, which was traumatic. It's really hard. All of the kids in my family are 6 feet, including the girls, except for my smallest sister is 5'8". I am currently, blissfully, 5'6". They are all incredibly tall, thin, gorgeous, athletic people. I was the youngest girl. I am the 6th of 7 kids. I had incredible grades. Wow, I was the smart one. I did not have an athletic bone in my body to save my life. And I always wanted to be like them. And I was never like them. To this day, still currently not like them. But it was tough for me, not because of the way they made me feel about me. My life was tough for me because of the way I made me feel about me. And it was a long road of getting to a place where I had to be comfortable in the skin that I'm in and the way that I am, because every single one of us has incredible gifts. And sometimes these gifts are packaged like opportunities or conflicts or trauma. And trauma is a gift. Trauma can very well be a gift, because as believers, and I don't have enough opportunities to talk to other believers in the work that I do, and I wish I did, because believers have an unbelievable knowledge of Christ that you know that you are all daughters of the King. You know this. You know that God bestows gifts on people. You know this. So when you're dealing with people that are not believers, you almost have to, get ready for that hike of belief because they don't have that foundation. You have that foundation. So we're gonna build on that foundation today. And we're gonna talk a little bit about anxiety and how words matter and how not just the words that we say or that people say, your internal words are probably the scariest and dangerous place that you have. Because it doesn't matter what the world will say to you, people have said some incredibly cruel things to me. As a young person over 400 pounds, I have been told things that I never wanted to hear from people I never wanted to meet. And it did not matter, because what I was saying to myself every single day was far more destructive than what anyone said to me, ever. And so getting into a place where you get to realize who you are, as you are, that is a beginning place. So that's what we're gonna try to hone in on there. So I said last night, my first panic attack I had when I was 11. And I did not know that I was having a panic attack. So that was interesting. And kids who were raised in the 70s and 80s, I don't even think we knew what anxiety or panic attacks were. So all of you guys living in the now, you have no idea how much you have available to you in knowledge. Because I think a lot of us just suffered in silence and didn't even realize we were suffering. So that is a very real point for you, to know that people have anxiety, to know that there are things that you can do, to know that there are people currently working on coping mechanisms, and the fact that you believe in Christ, you have another highest level authority of dealing with your anxiety. So not knowing it is one thing. So my panic attacks come to me in a very specific way. It's jarring. If you've never experienced a panic attack or seen someone have a panic attack, it can be frightening, and everyone has a unique way of doing it. Doing it like you're doing a puzzle. Everyone experiences a panic attack in their own way. For me, it would start at my feet, and it would feel like my feet were in ice, and the ice would start to travel up my body, but I wouldn't be able to stop it. And as it kept going up and up, if I didn't sit down, I would fall down. So at least starting at my feet, I did have an opportunity to get to someplace safe. Some people don't always get that opportunity. By the time the cold hits my neck, I feel like I can't breathe. And if you've ever felt like you can't breathe, it's a horrible feeling to have. I don't know if anyone's ever like almost drowned or anything like that. It is terrifying. And then it would eclipse my face, and I would either suffer, paralyzed, or I would pass out. Not fun. Not a fun thing. So you would think that if I was experiencing something like this, I would go and tell my parents that this was happening. No. I don't know why. I didn't know what it was. I literally thought I was dying the first 10 times, and I realized, well, it's clearly not killing me, so I guess this is what we just deal with. But I never said anything to them. And I don't know why I didn't. I think that you just don't want to worry. As the 6 of 7 children, our house, it was like a well-organized hive is how I describe it. Someone was always doing something. Someone always needed to be somewhere. Someone was always, this sporting event, this thing, this here, blah, 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 blah. We were always on the move in some capacity. And I never wanted to be the like, please pause for me. Always wanted to not stand out. Always tried to just go with the flow. Just kind of be there. Not causing too much excitement, not stopping progress, just kind of existing through. So I never would say anything. It wasn't until I was much older, I believe I was 25, when I got my actual clinical diagnosis. And I have panic disorder, which is a level of anxiety disorder. There are several different types of anxiety. I also have social anxiety, general anxiety disorder, as well as trichotillomania. Does anyone know what that is, trichotillomania? I am a compulsive hair puller. So it is Some people, like cutting, yeah, everyone's heard about cutting, right? And people who are not cutters are like, ugh, why would you do that? Like, how could you do that? Cutting is a release mechanism, so when things get too heavy, some people find solace in cutting. Personally, not a big fan of blood, so cutting would not be my gig. But what I understand is that when I would reach to the back of my hair and I would pull out a piece of hair, as weird and odd and painful as that could be, there was some release in there. And it was actually a distraction for what was going on around me. So I would start plucking the back of my hair. I would start plucking the hair on my legs. I would start plucking my eyebrows. And then I realized that your eyebrows are like smack in the front of your face and mine are challenging at best. So kind of had to stay away from those because they're pretty obvious when I'm messing with my eyebrows. So I started going to like little tiny places, not even realizing that this was an issue. I didn't realize this was a thing. So when I'm explaining this to my first counselor and he tells me that I have trichotillomania, I was like, what? And then I remember in the 8th grade, there was a girl who didn't have any eyebrows at all. And she told me secretly once, she's like, yeah, I pulled them out. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was doing the same thing at the back of my head, but I didn't tell her that. And I almost wish I did to this day, because when you're experiencing something and you have the heart to share it with somebody else, if that is a touching point for you, there is something amazing that happens to you when you discover that you are not alone in the things that you are dealing with. And I didn't give that to her, and I could have, but I was too afraid. I didn't want to, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Not like, oh my goodness, I do that too. And I think it could have done a lot for both of us had I gone into that place with her, but I didn't. So when people want to share something with you, especially when they're sharing something very intimate and very private with you, if it's something that you can identify with, let them know that. And if it's not, hug them through it. Because when people open themselves up to you, it's probably the hardest thing they did that day. It could be the hardest thing they've done in their life. So just recognize that. So I didn't do that. So we go back through with my counselor of all of these behaviors and stuff that I've done. I spoke yesterday about how I don't have any hair on my legs, and I really believe it's because I pulled them out so crazily for 15 years that it just stopped. My body was just like, okay, this is fruitless, because you're just gonna keep doing this. And so it stopped. But that's probably why, is this obsessive need to like, that's how I busied myself. I was also eating to busy myself. And so as things were like swimming through my mind, my husband describes my brain as, he's a computer person, it's like I have 300 windows open constantly. And they're all doing different things simultaneously, but I know what they all are. And I'm there, I'm like right in the middle of it. And it's always spinning, right? So it's hard to kind of focus on one thing. And so in order to gain focus, I would pluck hairs. That would distract me long enough to get a thought together. I would stop the whirlwind of things happening. So going through this with my counselor, it's like, oh my goodness, all of these behaviors that I've had is because I have this underlying anxiety that I didn't even know that I had. So where does it come from? And you might find, especially as children of God, that sometimes people will believe that because we believe in God that you don't have anxiety, that you can just pray harder. Absolutely, pray harder, for sure. God has the ability to heal your anxiety, for sure. I have no doubt in my mind. But the fact that if you have anxiety, that you have it, God gives us a way to help manage it. It may not take it away. He may not take it away completely. So I don't want you to believe that some people feel bad saying that they have anxiety because they believe in Christ and they feel like it's a failing on their part. And it's not. Anxiety can be a very clinical thing that you have. God gives you tools to help manage it, which puts you light years above people that do not know God and do not know how God can help you in that management process. You are profoundly gifted in that manner. For years, I suffered not knowing God, especially not knowing God the way I know him now, and not having that place to go when things become almost untenable en route. So that's where my anxiety started. When I stopped actively pulling my hair because I was getting bald spots and it's getting tough to hide, I wore wigs for a very long time. One, because dealing with this afro was a full-time job, and two, I just like to have my hair the way I want to have it. Another reason is because my anxiety is really born in my clothing. It's such a crazy thing when you say it out loud, but I will change my clothes 10,000 times to again come before you in the all-black uniform you see today. I will purchase clothes with color. I will have all of the optimism in the world when I buy it, usually on sale because I would never buy anything with patterns or colors at full price. I will take it home. I have an enormous walk-in closet that when we looked at our house, I was like, oh, this is great. Honey, where's your stuff gonna go? And it looks like somebody is in mourning. Like the entire thing is like a museum of black clothing, and then this one little patterned patch of hope that never ever gets worn still tags on it. One day I'll get there. I thought that when I lost a lot of weight that I would actually start wanting to wear colors, and my husband's like, oh, the color's coming. It's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's still not. But I change my clothes because I'm always conscious about, ooh, I don't like the way this looks, I don't like the way this feels, I don't like the way this, and you just kind of like get all and like, try it on, look in the mirror, turn to the side, wait, how does my butt look? And you go through all of these things and you're just like, okay, no. Black uniform, there you go. So how can that be good for you, right? Could it be good for you? God uses everything, right? Even our most anxious parts, even our like craziest parts, God has a use for. And I discovered this a couple of years ago because I was doing this show at this place that my husband, it's one of my husband's clients, and I used to sell premier jewelry. So I had a premier jewelry table there, and the people at this, it's a nursing home, they buy like crazy pants. So I'm like, oh, I want to look good, and my husband, that's their client, so I need to really look nice because it's my husband's clients, they're going to be meeting me, so I'm going to have to do this. And I must have changed my clothes 6,000 times. Settled on an all-black dress, just so you know that I am extremely consistent. And I'm so frustrated because anybody else a planner? I'm a planner. If I'm going to be there at 11, I'm going to be there at 11. And at this point, it was 10:45. I'm still around a sea of black clothing in my closet, really mad. Now, I don't have to be there until 12:30, but I had it set in my mind that I was going to be there at 11 for absolutely no reason. But that's where my head was. And now I'm really angry. I'm really disappointed in myself because I said I was going to be there at 11. Now I'm clearly not going to be there at 11 because I'm still putting my clothes on and off, 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 on and off. Oh my goodness. And then I finally get out to Route 1, which is a horrible road to drive on, and traffic is stopped. I'm like, for real? Really? Now I might actually be late. Not just my own personal late. Now I'm gonna be like, for real late. This is not good. So now I am very aggravated, and then I discover why there was traffic. There's always a reason for traffic. Usually rubberneckers, when someone's pulled over on the side of the road, everyone stops to look because we are ridiculous like that. There was an absolutely horrifying accident. Someone was going like 100 miles an hour in a minivan, skidded across, bounced on both sides of Route 1, bottomed out, somehow got out of his car, airbags deployed everywhere, and was like running down the street. This was in North Kingstown. It was an unbelievable accident. On my best laid plans that I set forth that morning to be there at 11, I would have been directly in the path of a 2-ton speeding missile with someone who was drunk at 10:30. I would have been right there. So, all right, God, today, my anxiety, as frustrating and as maddening as it can be sometimes, as much as I know that I will be fine in whatever I wear rationally, but I will still change my clothes like a crazy person several times, bless you. On this day, my anxiety worked to my good. We don't often get to see the realization of the things that are happening over here. And sometimes it's really painful over here, and it's tough to find the gift. And some days, we are blessed with an immediate recognition of what that gift is. And that was me at 11 o'clock, realizing that I seriously dodged something. But sometimes we will experience things here that will only make sense way over here. And like I said yesterday, God has an epic long game, and there is no time. We don't know what this moment right now is birthing in someone that may not have any kind of real fruit for 200 years. We don't know it, but we have to trust that it's there, because everything has a purpose. God has a plan for absolutely everything. And they may be surprises to us, they're never surprises to God. So that is one of the big things about how these anxiety pieces tend to work. Now, for you guys, we were talking yesterday a lot about masks and about how sometimes we have the ability, whether it's at school or at work, to kind of flip on or off a personality trait, or kind of going with the flow for things. And sometimes even on an outside level, participating in things that you normally would not participate in, had people that you knew from home or people from church were to watch you, you would be in a very different place. And part of authentic living is the ability to live without having to worry about who is behind you, who is in front of you, who can hear you, and where you are. And for years, especially through my anxiety disorders, I would always try to pretend to be happy. I always wanted to pretend that I had things together. I was the smart kid in my family, so there was a lot more pressure on me because, the athletes will get by. They'll get by. They all went to college because they all had scholarships. I had a scholarship too. Mine was academic. Not quite the same flash in our household, but still. But there was always I always needed to make it seem like everything was okay when it wasn't. When I had my children, I was a single parent, I was in my early 20s, and I was absolutely 110% overwhelmed from the jump, way overwhelmed. And every single day, I put on a face that I had it all together. Everything was fine. And I would go home and I would cry, and I would have no idea how we were gonna make it through to the next day. But I didn't have enough wherewithal or too much pride to say, I really need help here. because I was the good girl who was supposed to do great things. And now I have 2 kids out of wedlock. I had a great job, but I had to keep trying to keep this air up that everything was great. It is the single most destructive thing you can do for yourself, is to try to pretend that everything is okay, especially when people ask you. Because the people that ask you if you're okay, for the most part, really want to know if you're okay. So just for the record, there's a, hey, how are you? That's a fine, that's a fine. There's a, Rhonda, how are you? That's an invitation. Take that invitation. And we have a friend who's very open, like extremely open. And I'm sometimes jealous of how open she is. And I was never that free with my thoughts. I was never that free with my feelings. I was never that free, period. I was always bound by what I think things should look like, what I think people expect me to look like, how they expect me to act, all of this stuff. I was always so controlled by these things that I always wished that I had that freedom of being like, you know what, Rhonda, it is not good. It is just not good. I really need help. I need help. And I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. So there is having that openness. But I also want to caution you that not everyone wants you to back up the dump truck of your feelings on them. So it's about knowing who is real for you to talk to. What I love about what I've seen with this church so far is that you guys have an incredible support system. Oh my goodness, I love my church. We have little kids and we have adults. We don't have much of this tween, teen, young adult thing. We don't have that. And I don't know if they just all go away to college or whatever, but we just don't have that. And this is the most critical time. 40 million people have anxiety. Do you know what the biggest age group for anxiety is? The biggest one. Girls, 10 to 18. 10 to 18, who are least likely to ask for help. Girls, 10 to 18, least likely. Least likely to tell their parents, I need help. Girls, 10 to 18. And that is concerning, because this is at the very beginning of your future. And there's so much, especially now, there's so much help. But there is a difference between worry and anxiety. Now, words have weight. They have a lot of weight. And when people say things like, oh, I didn't make the gymnastics squad, I'm so depressed. Are they really depressed? Or are they disappointed? They're probably disappointed, right? But when you say, I'm so depressed, you're removing the weight of depression from someone who actually has it. When you say things like, you're driving me insane, are they really driving you insane? Probably not. You're probably frustrated. And every time we use these clinical terms for non-clinical behaviors, it makes it even harder for people who are already not asking people for help. Now you're really not going to ask people for help. So what's the difference between worry and anxiety? Does anybody know? Anyone want to throw a guess on worry versus anxiety? I know, small groups, most people want to talk. It's okay. It's okay. Worry is a natural, normal, helpful reaction to things. You're going on a trip. Are we going to have enough money? Do we make all the right arrangements? Do we do this? Okay. Worry. My daughter's going to a friend's house. She's sleeping over. Worried. Yeah, there's a little concern there. And in the mom section, we're going to be talking a lot about when to lean into your children and when to let go, as experienced by a mother of 2, stepmother of 6, granny to 4. 6 of 7 children. My husband's the 5th of 6. So I am not a doctor, but we have heaps of experience in when to lean in and when to let go with children, especially dealing with our adult children can be almost as challenging as dealing with babies. Babies are actually so easy, they don't need anything but all of your time and attention. Trust me, that will be the easiest part of child rearing will be when they were infants. I see a lot of like, yes, very true. They need you for everything, you know it, excellent, there's no guessing there. It's when they stop talking. It's when you start filling gaps with your own thoughts and feelings. That's where parenting begins. And it's scary. So those are natural, healthy worries. Anxiety is, I leave my house. I may not be back there today, because I may die today. You don't know that. Driving down the car, and there could be like logs on the back of a log truck, and one is definitely going through my window today. It's all of these like, you know in your brain the likelihood of these events happening are highly unlikely. Not impossible, but highly unlikely. But it absorbs so much of your time, so much of your energy. It becomes very exhausting just being, because you have all of these things that are coming at you. And sometimes you look at people who don't worry about anything and you're just like, how do you live? How do you do that? And I have a sister who is just like as go with the flow as glue. She's just, whoa! And I am like, how? I don't even understand how this works. Because my anxiety hits me in that capacity. I worry about everything to a level of irrationality frequently. I have social anxiety, which is weird because I'm social. And a lot of people, when they meet me, especially in settings like this, they're like, oh, she's extroverted and friendly, she's kind, she's funny, she's got all of these things. I would rather be in my house 24 hours a day. I have a gift of speaking. It is definitely a God-given gift. It is not anything that I have ever had to work for. It's something that I have always had. I am friendly. I am kind. I think I'm funny, marginally. But going out sometimes takes every ounce of strength I have. Every single thing. And because I don't like to disappoint people, shout out to all our people pleasers. Yes, I will do that. Yes, I will go there. Yes, I will volunteer for that. Yes, I will, because I don't want you to be disappointed in me and I don't want you to not like me. So even though I'm stressed to the max and I have absolutely no time to clean my house, yes, I will be there. Yes. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why do I have this unnatural need for people to like me? Especially when it really doesn't matter if they do or they don't. But there I am, attempting to make everyone happy at the expense of my own happiness, at the expense of my own safety. But that's what we do. We do that, and sometimes it's not even anxiety-based. Ladies, I am telling you, the world expects a lot from women, a whole lot. You will be judged on every decision that you make, every single one. Having kids young, oh my goodness. Having kids old, oh my goodness. Homeschooling, oh my goodness. Your children will never have social lives. Sending them to school, oh my goodness. Public school, killers live there. Like, it is unbelievable. Working? Oh, how could you work when you have a family? Not working? How do you let your husband support your whole household? You should help. You answer to God and yourself. You will do what is right for your family and the way that your family dynamic works. Everyone will always have an opinion on what you do. You will frequently feel like you are doing things wrong. You will often feel as though, holy cow, you have failed. I assure you, you have not. You haven't. These are the things that we will always face. Always. You could be the greatest woman in the world. You could be the world's best Christian. You will still face scrutiny from people all the time. And even now, before, I would just know that my neighbor was a potentially crappy mom. Now, courtesy of the internet, we all think we're crappy moms. So it is not, it's so much out there. So how do you make decisions to live your life authentically, share yourself with people, explain that you need help? How do you get through these things and not call attention to yourself, not stop everything and look at me? Because sometimes that's what it feels like, right? You don't want to ask for help because you don't want to be that like, ugh. And sometimes we also have to seek help, and our first line of attack, our first line of defense is going to be someone in our family, right? And sometimes our family doesn't understand. Because if they haven't experienced it, they may not know exactly how you feel. I take karate, and I went to this karate camp in Virginia, and I learned a word, an Okinawan word, that really transformed a lot of my thought process. And the word is mohichibun. It means depth of understanding. It means a human being's ability to understand. And with karate, it's like you can do the moves, right? You can do the moves, but if you're not understanding what the moves are you really doing it? And I was like, wow, the word didn't leave me. I still have not finished the blog that I've started because this concept is so vast. And it's not just karate, it's life. It's your depth of understanding in life. So my first thought was, we live on the East Coast. Snow, right? We get snow. You've seen snow. You've touched snow. You've experienced being outside when it was snowing. Now I want to take that thought process of snow and I want to transport you to Southern California, where there is an entire community of humans who have never seen snow. Not in real life. They've seen it. They've seen it on the top of mountains. They have seen it on TV. They have seen it in movies. They have seen snow on postcards. They've seen snow. Do they know snow? Do they know what snow feels like when you touch it? How your fingertips go numb real fast for a second and then it melts just as fast as it got there. Do they know that? Do they know that there's different types of snow? There's that slushy, squishy, horrible, heavy snow that nobody likes, especially if you're the person who's got to shovel it. And then there's that light, fluffy snow you pray you get on Christmas snow, that like beautiful Norman Rockwell painting snow. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. They have no idea. That concept of mohichibun is very prevalent when you think about anxiety, depression, things that people have. People are familiar with the terms. They know what it is. They have not experienced it. They will not know what my panic attack feels like. I can tell you all day. You will not know how that truly feels until you experience it. And what your panic attack, or whatever your insert whatever thing you are working with here, people, even the people that you go to for help, will understand and be familiar with terms. They will not be familiar with your experience. And so when it falls outside of what your family tries to help you through, that's when it's okay to say, you know what? I need additional help. I need a little more help. And I know that I have Christ to guide me, and there are Christian counselors, a whole ton of them. There are Christian psychologists, psychiatrists, people who not only are clinically skilled to deal in these issues, they know how to deal with our community with these issues, which sadly is very different when you're a non-believer. So it always helps to have somebody who's going to meet you where you are and say, okay, this is what we can do. This is what God can do, and here's how we're going to make this work together. So my friend Bethany Needham, who I met at Berea, I was on her podcast, some of you guys heard the Hey Girl podcast. She's amazing. One of the things that Bethany speaks about very openly is her battle with depression. She has a very severe case of depression, and something that for many years, many people, many well-meaning, coming from a loving place, Christian people have discounted, because Christians shouldn't be depressed, we have God. And Christians have God, Christians may still be depressed, God can help with depression, but sometimes, based on what your physiology is, medication may be what helps you. And I think of it like diabetes. My husband is a type 1 diabetic. If my husband does not have insulin, my husband will die. He will die. There is no getting around it. There is no question. His body does not produce or regulate insulin. He will die inside of 2 days without insulin. 2. My husband has nearly died 4 times in the 10 years we've been together. Every single day is like ooh, we don't know. That's how dangerous and how sensitive diabetes can be. Insulin, life-saving, right? My husband has a physiological condition that requires him to use insulin every day to live. Bethany Needham has a chemical condition that requires medication for her to live. Not one person in the church would ever say anything to my husband about being on insulin, yet so many people judged her for choosing to use medication to deal with her depression. Sometimes that is what you need. And I consider them all gifts from God. When people look at my surgery, yes, I had gastric bypass surgery. Yes, to me, for me, that was a life-changing event for me. Is it for everybody? No. Does it stop my love of ice cream? No. Did it run the New York Marathon? No. I had to do that. You still have to do things. But it was, to me, a life-saving medical procedure. And who guides the hands of every doctor? God does. Who is the greatest physician in the world? God is. But there are tools that are out there, and we shouldn't be afraid to explore them. So what I want to ask you guys, because I am meeting with your moms after this, and Dome of Silence, okay, I got you. I dealt in the CR program at our church. I will never say a word to any human being outside of this sphere on anything that you would share with me, ever, ever. Whether you messaged me on Facebook after this, ever. I'm telling you, I understand security. I understand how scary it can be to share your feelings. I understand this. What is it that you want me to make sure that your parents know in our next session? Especially if you're dealing with something like anxiety or depression, or you think you are, and whether you're either not being heard or they're not understanding where you are, their Mohichi-bun may not be quite where yours is. Is there anything that you want me to share with them that can help advance what you may be feeling or experiencing.
And by share, you don't mean by saying, well, Rhonda feels this way.
No, never, ever, ever, ever. It was brought up that, something like that. I would never, ever say a single thing.
So your concerns or whatever you need spoken out remains anonymous. It's,
Right, sorry, my husband is bringing my pound sticks and he's lost somewhere. I am so sorry.
is he,
Have him come back into the store, I'll meet him.
I do,
Oh.
right?
Cool.
I don't know if he's in the back.
is he back here?
Oh, he'll be here in a half an hour. I don't know what he's doing. He just called me though. I don't know. Sorry. So yeah, is there anything that you would want them to know? Are they pushing you in any kind of way? Are they doing any kind of things? Like sometimes it's just things that, you know, you need a little assistance with. Or is there any questions that you have